Tower of Fantasy, a game I've personally been very excited about, and a game I think a lot of people have been excited about, has finally launched. Well, it's sort of launched. If you are not aware, due to certain situations, PWG was forced to release the game early, and especially only to the CN market. Now, there's different ways to play this game, and we won't get into that. But I wanted to let you guys know that I've personally put 50 plus hours into this game. I think I have a 40 plus character. I've hit all the zones. I've done a little bit of all the different content before making this review. Before we go into if you should play or not, you should know that this game has had a ton of drama around it, from the fake community managers to the stolen assets, or multiple times, by the way, and to the PR response saying that the game is not coming to global. Now, that was a very typical PR response to the global situation, and it says that they currently don't have any plans, but that they're currently talking about it. Now, there's no way that this game is not coming to global unless it really, really bombs in the CN market. Because let's take Genshin, for example. Genshin did $2 billion globally, where only 20 to 25% came from the CN market. I doubt any company is going to leave that amount of money on the table for a game that they've invested into. So, at the end of the day, let's do this review based on the merits and not all the other random 5-star reviews or 4-star reviews on TapTap and a few of others, and let's just dive into it. Tower of Fantasy is an MMO RPG slash action RPG. Now, it's mainly an action RPG in my opinion, with elements of an MMO. As you traverse the world, you will find other players that are also traversing the world as well, doing some of the same quests and searching for some of the same items. Sometimes this works out beautifully, but mostly it's going to feel like the world is a little lonely. Now, the world is separated into channels, and a lot of the channels that I picked were not 1 through 10 due to mainly latency of the connection all the way to the CN servers. Regardless of players running around, the world of Tower of Fantasy is vast and it's bountiful. There's a ton of things to do, and there's great ways and great options for traversing. There's a jetpack for scaling quickly. I wish I had something like that besides Venti and Genshin. And motorcycles and other items in order to just move about the world faster, which is such a breath of life. Now, speaking about the world, enemies in the world will scale, making it so that you need to upgrade every step of the way as you progress through the game. So as you go up in levels, the enemies go up in levels. So you're going to need to upgrade that gear. You're going to need to upgrade those weapons. You're going to need to upgrade those chipsets. And that's great. That keeps all of it relevant. Now, talking about progression, the game does have an MSQ, and there's only so many levels and so many story missions to the MSQ that you can do every day. So this isn't that bad. This isn't that bad once you make it a few days in. But the first couple days that you play the game, it could feel like a pretty quick wall that you hit. I think in the first day, I was able to hit that wall within the first 30 to 45 minutes, moving pretty quickly. And at that point, you're just left to explore, and you can't get any more levels, and there's not a whole lot you can do. You have to come back 18 hours later. As you get further in the game and you hit some of those walls, they don't feel as bad because there's a ton of other things to do, and some of the content does open up. And now, to compare that, Genshin Impact does the same thing, right? Where they hide a lot of the stories and they hide a lot of the progression behind AR levels, but they kind of hide it a little bit better, in my opinion. Speaking of content to do, the game is filled with activities from all aspects that you're trying to accomplish. Whether you're trying to farm upgrades for your gear, whether you're trying to do some PvP and get some premium resources, whether you're trying to get some level up materials for your weapons or for your equipment or for anything. There's a lot of different activities to do. And you need to do all of them, because everything in this game matters, from leveling your weapon to leveling your chipsets to leveling your equipment to leveling everything. It all matters. Now, luckily for us, a lot of this can be farmed outside of the gacha system, which, speaking of the gacha system, I know a lot of people are looking forward to that. So let's talk about that real quick. This game takes the Genshin system, but vastly improves it, in my opinion. For starters, you're guaranteed to get an SSR pity every 80 pulls. Regardless if you pull 0 SSRs or 10 SSRs on your way to 80. You're always going to get a top tier character, top tier weapon and character, since they're the same thing. every 80 pulls. On top of that, every 120 pulls, you get a choice selector from any of the ones you already own. So say if I had the Scythe from King and I got to 120, I can then get a skill unlock for King if I wanted to every 120 pulls, which is a really nice system. Treat that as like a constellation from Genshin, since your weapons and the characters are the exact same thing. Now, there is a chipset gacha, but those don't seem as important to me as it does in Genshin, right? Where your 5-star weapons matter a lot, and now your top tier chipsets do matter a lot to your weapons as well, but a lot of these can be farmed naturally in the world bosses. And speaking of the world bosses, you can also farm SSRs naturally in the world to be able to get certain SSRs over the course of time. So there's another way to get top tier characters for free. So free to play players, there's a lot of different ways to do that. Then on top of that, when exploring the world, and I'm going to give you guys my own experience, I've been able to do over 160 premium summons, and I'm not even done exploring the world. That means I've essentially done 2 natural pities, and I've been able to get 2 or 3 SSRs on my way to those pities. So I've had some really good luck, but it means that it's very easy for free-to-play players to get some really good characters. Now, that will dry up at some point, so keep that in mind, but that's a really nice system. All right, let's talk about some of the things I didn't like, and it doesn't mean that I hated it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the combat. The combat to me feels a little lackluster. The changing weapon system is pretty good. I like the way that flows, from pulling out a scythe that's fire to pulling out maybe like some guns that are lightning. One's better at taking down shields, others are better at doing some, big boss damage, and that feels really good, right? But the fluidness feels off, especially when you get into aerial combat, which a lot of these weapons do want you to jump in the air and do some sort of aerial combat. And the only thing I can relate that to is PSO2, if you have played that, where when you're in the air, you kind of do like this teching system where you can like just fire off shots while being held in midair, and then you can do a little bit of aerial movement, but it doesn't feel that fluid. Coming from a game like Genshin, where the combat is very, very fluid, and you can proactively dodge on a blink of an eye, it's hard for me to get over that. And I hope that they improve that combat system over time. I think they have the formula of what they want to do, but they need to bring it a little bit more modern, a little bit more action oriented than it currently already is. But the action itself does look very beautiful and very combo eccentric. Some people might like that, some people might not. So this might not be a negative for you. The other thing that I discovered, and this is mainly due to the infancy of the game, there's a lot of bugs in this game. There's a lot of latency issues, and that one's on me. So we're not going to fault the game for that. But there is a lot of bugs in this game that need to be worked out, and there's a lot of improvements that need to be made. And there's a lot of improvements that would have to be made, especially coming into a Western release compared to a CN release. That being said, overall, I did really like the game. Is it a game you should play right now, especially if you're not in the CN market? I would have to say no. But I think it's a game that we should continue to look at and continue to hope to strive that we do get a global release and they do fix some of these things. Now, they have announced that there is a 2.0 version coming out soon. So it looks like they're trying to progressively get there. And what I think is going to happen is they're going to get to that 2.0 release and they're going to very drastically look at going global. And I don't think PWG is going to go global. I think someone like Bilibili is going to go global, or they're going to use some other publisher to go global. And that's going to make it easier on them. So we're going to keep our eye on this game. I'm still very hopeful for the game. Is it a Genshin killer that everyone says? No, it is not. Genshin does a lot of things right. And Genshin does a lot of great story as well. And we didn't really touch too much in the story, but the story in Genshin is a lot better than Tower of Fantasy. Not to say that Tower of Fantasy is bad, but it reminds me more of a PSO2 where they just want to get you into the combat and not so much delving into the characters. So we're going to continue to look at this game. if you guys you're like, I really want to play, there's some ways to get like a Bilibili account and to play now, but do realize that you are going to come across some of these issues as well. I think it's worth waiting. I think it's worth just keeping your ears to the ground in what news may come out, or follow this channel if you haven't done so. And I'll continue to give you guys news on Tower Fantasy, as we do think we are going to play that game going into the 2022. So if you guys like the review, hit me up in the comments down below. Hopefully that answered a lot of your questions. If you have not done it, please subscribe and like to the channel if you made it this far. I do appreciate you. We are big into gacha gaming. I'm big into MMOs as well. We're looking forward to Blue Protocol. I'm looking forward to Artery Gear. I'm looking forward to Black Clover. We play Blue Archive. I play a lot of different. Come join us in the Discord. Come chat with us. And I will see you guys on the next video.